The house had been empty for years. Not abandoned, just avoided. Locals walked past it with their eyes lowered, and when tourists asked what the tall, slate-dark building at the end of Harrow Lane was, the answer was always the same. Just an old place, they'd say. Nothing worth seeing. But they were lying. Everyone in town knew that Harrow House was not empty. Something lived there. Something that watched. And after 27 quiet years, someone was finally moving in. Chapter 1, Arrival. Ethan Ward didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in evidence, in careful documentation, in the idea that every mystery could be solved if you looked long enough and asked the right questions. Which made him naive. When he pulled up to Harrow House in his rental car, the first thing he noticed was the cold. Not the gentle autumn chill he expected from a northern English village, but something sharper, a cold that felt deliberate, targeted. As if the house was exhaling. The house was 3 stories tall, built entirely of stone that darkened toward black at the edges. Its windows were narrow and old-fashioned, thick with warped glass that reflected the sky in broken shapes. Ethan stepped out of the car and carried his camera bag toward the front gate. He was here for work, an independent documentary project on Britain's most infamous haunted locations. Harrow House was the crown jewel. No one had successfully filmed inside it since the 1980s. The wrought iron gate groaned when he pushed it open. Ethan recorded it immediately. Day 1, he said into his recorder. Arrived at Harrow House. Structure appears intact but oppressive. Locals refuse to discuss it beyond vague warnings. He paused. Feels colder here than it should. He switched off the recorder and walked up the path. Behind him, the gate eased shut on its own. He didn't hear the click. Chapter 2, The Caretaker. Inside, the house smelled of old paper and dust. Not decay, just age. Ethan had rented the property from its reclusive owner, a man named Marcus Harrow who claimed to be the last surviving member of the Harrow family. A voice echoed from the shadows of the hallway. You must be Mr. Ward. Ethan jumped. An elderly man stepped forward, thin, pale, dressed in a dark suit that looked older than the house itself. His eyes were a washed-out gray. I'm the caretaker, the man said. You may call me Mr. Hill. Ethan shook his hand. It was ice cold. You're staying only 4 nights, correct? Hill asked. Right. Should be enough for the documentary. Hill nodded, though his expression tightened almost imperceptibly. 4 nights is more than enough. Before Ethan could ask what that meant, Hill handed him a heavy iron key. This locks every door in the house, Hill said. Use it. Not every room should be left open. Why not? Hill's eyes flicked to the staircase, then to the ceiling. It's an old house. It remembers things. Ethan frowned. You mean it stores history? Yes, Hill said quietly. That's one way to put it. Without another word, the caretaker walked past him, opened the front door, and stepped into the cold. He left so swiftly Ethan had to call after him. Wait, are you not staying? Hill paused at the gate. I don't enter after sundown. And he vanished down the lane. Ethan exhaled. This was great footage already. Chapter 3, The First Night. Ethan set up his camera equipment through the evening. Motion sensors in the hallways, night vision cameras in the large upstairs bedrooms, audio recorders positioned where strange activity had allegedly occurred, the attic, the basement door, and, most importantly, the third-floor study. The study had a reputation. In 1978, a historian researching the Harrow family had locked himself inside that room for 3 days. When police finally broke the door down, the historian was sitting in the dark, whispering something over and over. It's in the walls. He never fully recovered. Ethan recorded his introduction to the room. This is the study, he said on camera. Site of previous auditory hallucination reports. I'll be spending my first night here. He set up his sleeping bag on the floor and turned the lights off. Hours passed. The house creaked as old houses do. Wind rattled the shutters. The radiator groaned. Ethan recorded every noise with growing excitement. Then, around 3:17 a.m., something new happened. A soft tapping came from the wall behind him. Tap. Tap tap. Tap. Ethan sat up, recorder in hand. Possibly pipes expanding, he whispered. Or rodents. Tap. Tap tap tap. The sound moved, not louder, but closer. As if something inside the wall was exploring, or searching. Ethan shone his flashlight at the plaster. The tapping stopped. He sat awake for the rest of the night. Nothing else happened. But in the morning, when he played back his audio recording, he heard something he hadn't noticed before. A breath. Not his. Not an animal. A slow, deliberate exhale directly beside the microphone. And a faint whisper beneath it. You shouldn't be here. Chapter 4, The History of Harrow House. The next afternoon, Ethan visited the village library. The librarian was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes who looked uneasy when Ethan introduced himself. You're the one staying in that place, she muttered. Harrow House, Ethan said. I'm filming a documentary. The librarian sighed and pulled out a stack of old newspapers. Every outsider does this, she said. You're not the first. And they all got scared off? Ethan asked with a half-smile. No, the librarian said quietly. Some didn't leave at all. Ethan felt a chill. She opened a yellowed file. Families who lived in that house kept disappearing, she explained. Always at night. Doors locked from the inside. No signs of struggle. The police blamed mental illness, accidents, anything but what the locals knew. And what do the locals think? Ethan asked. The librarian lowered her voice. They think the house takes people. Ethan raised an eyebrow. The house? As in, the building itself? No, she said. They mean something in the house. She looked around before continuing. The Harrow family was known for unusual interests. Seances. Rituals. Rooms built with no windows. Walls that don't match the blueprints. And they always said the same thing during their rituals. Which was? She hesitated. The house remembers. Ethan's blood ran cold. Hill had said the same phrase. Do you have the blueprints? Ethan asked. The librarian nodded. When she unrolled the old parchment, Ethan's eyes widened. The third floor, the floor he was sleeping on, had a room in the center of the building that did not exist on the official plans. A room with no doors. No windows. No access at all. Yet the blueprint labeled it clearly. The heart room. Ethan took a photo. He suddenly felt eager, too eager, to get back to the house. Chapter 5, Scratches in the Walls. That night, Ethan returned to the study. He set new equipment, a thermal camera aimed at the wall where the tapping had occurred. Midnight passed quietly. At 1:43 a.m., the temperature dropped 5 degrees. At 1:44, the tapping started again. Tap. Tap tap. Tap tap tap. Then scratching. Long, slow scratches, as though fingernails, or claws, were dragging from one end of the wall to the other. Ethan leaned closer, heart racing. The scratching stopped. Then, a fist slammed against the wall from the inside. Ethan stumbled backward. The thermal camera beeped. There was a heat signature in the wall. Human-shaped. Moving. Ethan grabbed the iron key Hill had given him and instinctively held it up. The heat signature froze. Then it receded, slowly, like something crawling backward through a narrow space. Ethan didn't sleep. Chapter 6, The Caretaker Returns. At dawn, a knock came at the front door. Ethan opened it to find Mr. Hill standing on the path, breathing heavily as if he'd rushed there. You opened a room, Hill said sharply. Ethan blinked. What? No. I didn't open anything. You interacted with it. Hill's gaze was intense. That wall. It responds to attention. Ethan crossed his arms. What's in there? Hill hesitated. A mistake, he whispered. A part of the house that should never have been built. The Harrows wanted to speak with something. They succeeded. Ethan stared. You mean a spirit? A demon? Hill shook his head. No. Not something dead. Something alive. Ethan felt a pulse of exhilaration. Can I see the heart room? Hill stepped back as though struck. No. Absolutely not. It doesn't have a door for a reason. Ethan leaned forward. But it exists. Hill's voice became almost a hiss. It feeds. It listens through the walls. If you keep acknowledging it, it will try to make contact. Ethan swallowed. It already has. Hill turned white. You must leave. Tonight. Ethan laughed under his breath. I'm finally getting real evidence. I'm not leaving. Hill stared at him with a mix of pity and horror. Then he walked away. This time, he didn't look back. Chapter 7, The Voice. Ethan stayed in the hallway that night, unable to sit still. Every so often, he thought he heard movement elsewhere in the house, footsteps soft as breathing, slight shifts in the walls, a whisper brushing past his ear. But around 3 a.m., he heard something unmistakable. A voice. It came from the staircase. A young woman's voice, trembling. Hello? Ethan froze. Is someone there? The voice asked. Please. I don't know where I am. Ethan grabbed his flashlight. Hello? He called. No answer. He moved up the stairs slowly, every instinct screaming at him to turn back. But his camera was rolling. The voice came again, closer. Please. I'm trapped. It's so dark. The hallway ahead was empty, but the voice sounded like it was inches from his face. Ethan's breath hitched. The voice whispered directly into his ear. Let me out. The wall beside him bulged. Just slightly. As if something inside was pressing a hand against it. Ethan stumbled back, heart pounding. Then every wall in the hallway groaned at once, deep, resonant, like a house inhaling. Chapter 8, The Heart Room. The next morning, Ethan made a decision. He was going to find the heart room. He spent hours tapping on the walls, listening for hollow spaces. When he reached the center of the 3rd floor, he found it, a small section of wall that sounded different. Too thin, too empty behind the plaster. He held his breath. The wall pulsed. Just once. Like a heartbeat. Ethan lifted his hands. Is someone in there? He whispered. Silence. He pressed his palm to the plaster. A hand pressed back from the other side. Ethan gasped and leapt away. The wall rippled, ripples, like fabric instead of stone. Something whispered from within. You opened the door. Chapter 9, The Night of Hands. Everything fell apart that night. Ethan tried to sleep in the main hall, but at 2:12 a.m., the first knock came. Not at the door. Inside the wall. Then another knock from the opposite side. Then scratching. Dozens of scratches. As if hands, many hands, were reaching through the walls and dragging their claws along the wood. Ethan backed into a corner. The walls bulged from all sides. Something was trying to push through the plaster. A dozen fingers pierced through, pale and thin, reaching. Ethan screamed and ran for the front door. But it was locked. The key wouldn't turn. The house was holding the lock in place. He sprinted toward the stairs as the walls cracked open behind him. Hands poured out, grabbing, clutching, dragging themselves into the open air. A chorus of voices filled the house. Stay. Don't leave. We're hungry. Stay with us. Ethan bolted up the stairs. The only place left to run was the heart room. His equipment fell behind him. The corridor grew darker with every step, as if the shadows were swallowing the light. He reached the wall. It looked different now. Softer. Thinner. Breathing. He stepped forward. The wall opened. Chapter 10, Inside the Heart. The heart room was not a room at all. It was a cavity within the house, a dark organic chamber lined with pulsing, vein-like structures. The air was thick and warm. The ground beneath Ethan's feet felt soft, too soft. All around him were faces. Dozens of them. Pressed into the living walls like fossils, eyes wide and mouths frozen in silent screams. They moved. Their eyes followed him. They whispered. Join us. Ethan stumbled backward. The entrance had sealed shut. The chamber contracted, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. He realized the truth. This wasn't a haunted house. This was a living organism. Something the Harrow family had built around. Something ancient and hungry. And it was digesting him. The walls constricted tighter. Ethan screamed and hammered at the sealed entrance, but the living stone only pulsed faster. His last thought before the darkness swallowed him was that Hill had been wrong. The house didn't remember. It fed. Epilogue. 3 days later, Mr. Hill returned to Harrow House at dawn. He unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The cameras were scattered. The equipment was broken. Ethan Ward was nowhere. Hill sighed. He walked to the center of the 3rd floor and pressed a hand against the wall. Another one, he whispered. From deep within the wall, something moved. Hill closed his eyes. It's done, he said quietly. You have eaten. Now sleep. The wall calmed. Hill turned to leave, but stopped. A new whisper slithered out from behind the plaster, a voice he recognized. Ethan's voice. Mr. Hill, help me. Hill shut his eyes. I warned you, he whispered. He locked the door behind him and left before the sun set. Harrow House settled. The walls relaxed. And the house slept. Waiting for the next visitor.